Testing, 1, 2, testing. Great.
Perfect, we're
Yeah.
golden.
Summarize it would be that I've been doing art my entire life. I think just being submerged in my own world, immersed in my own world, has always been something that's been a part of like my creative outlet, I guess. Art has always just been a part of me, the way I express myself. So I think that just evolved over the years into what it is today. Looking back, it's definitely like whatever influences I had, the ones that really stood out have definitely started to show or continue to show. An example of that would be like the fact that I use a lot of cartoon references, and that's a lot to touch upon like nostalgia or a 90s feel, stuff that like I'm very familiar with, stuff that I grew up with. So that's kind of transitioned into taking my work into its own direction and then evolving into something within its own world, I guess. So the character I created is supposed to be kind of a combination of all these pop culture icons. It is a mixture of Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat. It has the large white gloves, the basic shorts. The reason for it is to both draw upon nostalgia, pull upon something that people recognize and know, while at the same time introducing something new. A lot of people will see the work and immediately will attribute it to being Felix the Cat. But there are striking differences, the fact that like he's purple. But like we will, just visually we'll pick and choose things that we recognize, and kind of it's interesting to just see how people will ignore the things that are obvious and then be like, I recognize this, simply upon the few things that they see. So I kind of wanted to play upon that. I wanted to take things that were familiar to people and then take it into a completely different direction. So it's like a mixture of that. It's a progression of thought, and I think that the idea that, it's an original thought, even if it's a thought that came from something else, because the filter is the artist, and just like the filter becomes the viewer, you always like a new idea emerges from it, right? I love playing upon that, like having cartoons that everyone relates to. We all know cartoons, like we all grew up with them on some level, yeah. Right? Or like when we think of cartoons, we think of children. And I think that idea of the innocence harshly contrasts with the reality or like adulthood, even in like the darker ways. I think to me is so interesting because it's something that happens progressively within our lives, but visually having it just clash allows us to kind of process it differently and then kind of see how it affects you or what it actually means to you rather than just being a cartoon. I've realized that like storytelling it can be so complex, and the more you can get across in the most quickest amount of time, the easier it is, and I think cartoons do it so well. Now I'm in a point where I need to go like all out for it. There is no like in between of the road. I know myself very well, and I know that I'm either going to continue working for someone else, or I'm going to do this full time. And like I can't, there's no like middle line for me. I've discovered that I can't work part-time and then do this. It's just like it's this idea of like there's always something that I could be doing, and always something interesting that my mind is like trying to work on. So for me, it was just like creating that leap and just being like, well, if I'm constantly wanting to do things, and now there's a space that's supporting that idea and allowing these ideas to grow and emerge from nothing, then why not give it that other half, which is just the time and the effort that is needed to create something. I fully did it. I fully took the leap, but it's been, I try to stay as busy as possible, so it's not necessarily a schedule thing. Like I'm trying to stay on the same, just constantly sticking to the same hours, and then if I go over that, then I do, but it's just a matter of like getting ready for this event and then seeing how that goes after that. Supercrawl is an event that happens in Hamilton every year. It brings in about 200,000 people throughout 3-4 days. And it's mainly a music event where they have 3 concerts happening throughout the event, and the 3 stages are spread out through the event. There's a lot of local artists that will show up, and they'll sell a lot of their work. And it's something that will allow you to see pretty much all the artists, if not a majority of the more established artists that are willing to put their work out there, because it is one event that kind of draws everyone. And Hamilton is still at that point where the city is big enough where when this event happens, it takes over pretty much the entire city. Right? It's big enough that it'll bring in a large crowd. So if you're an artist that you're still trying to get to that point where you want people to see your work, it's a great event to be at, because everyone's there, like everyone knows about it. This is my 4th year or my 5th year that I've been doing it. But this year, the difference is that I won't be just having a booth where I'll be selling my prints or my merch. I'll be doing my first solo art show on James Street North, which is great because it's like where I grew up. Like I was born in Hamilton and I grew up on James Street North. So it played out really well, I think, and I'm very excited for it.